our precious time. Once again, warm welcome to all of you, and many thanks for joining us for the session today for this Career and Leadership Masterclass Lead Forward. We have a very inspiring leader with us today who I will introduce to you in a second. But first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Michelle Schulz. I work as a learning analyst with the capacity development team, as I said, here in Bonn, Germany. And we organize these sessions, these masterclasses, where we always invite inspiring leaders that really share like their knowledge and experience, insights from their career and from their leadership journey. So I really think, and we see that in these sessions, that it's a unique opportunity for all of us to hear from them, to directly interact with them, ask our questions, and really learn from real leaders and role models. So we're very much looking forward to today's session. Before we get started, just briefly a few housekeeping rules. You are all muted by default, as we're already quite a few people here, but you're more than welcome to use the chat if you have any questions or any comments. We will, in the first part of the session, listen to our speaker of the day, but then in the second part of the session, we also have time for a Q&A. So there you're also more than welcome to either put your questions on the chat or also raise your hand and ask them directly to our speaker. And as you can also see, we are already recording this session. So to those colleagues that unfortunately missed the session today, we can at least share the recording with them afterwards. And also to all of you who would like to review it again afterwards, that's going to be possible. We're going to share it with all of you. And lastly, if you would like to use this functionality, we also have the closed captioning available. You can find it on the bottom of your screen in Zoom. And there you also have the opportunity to translate it or activate the captioning. So in case that helps you during the session, then you're more than welcome to make use of this feature. And now, I don't want to take any further time from our guest speaker of the day, Cesar Guedes. We're more than happy to have him with us today. He also started his journey as a UN volunteer in the 1990s. And throughout his career, he had several leadership positions, including resident representative in Bolivia and a few other countries where I don't want to take too much of his content. But now that he had retired, he came back as UN Volunteers focal point for Guyana and the Southern Caribbean. So he's really championing volunteerism. I think that's you will see that throughout the session. He's an amazing leader with impressive experience, and I'm very happy that we have him with us today and we can learn from him and hear from his experience. So Cesar, thank you so much for being here. It's a real pleasure for us to have you, and without further ado, over to you, and yeah, warm welcome. And you're still on mute. It happens to the best. Unfortunately, I think you're still on mute now. Let us check again.
Yeah. Am I
there
here?
We go.
Okay.
Yes. Now we
Dear
have you.
Michelle, thank you very much for this invitation, and warm welcome and hello to all our dear participants. I'll get more in detail about who I am. As you know, I'm Cesar Guedes, but more details will come. But I would like to start with a few words, while I say hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, hello. I would like to start with a simple image. In 1992, I arrived in Guyana as a UN volunteer. I was motivated, curious, and honestly uncertain about where this path would lead. Like many of you today, I did not have a master plan. I had a commitment to contribute and a willingness to learn. What I did not know then was that saying yes to that first UNV assignment would open doors I could not imagine. like working in peace transitions, supporting human rights initiatives, youth and volunteering, serving at headquarters, helping design programs, and eventually returning, like now, decades later, again as a UN volunteer to help relaunch the program in the Caribbean. My journey was not linear. It included uncertainty, difficult contexts, unexpected responsibilities, and moments where growth came from stepping outside of my terms of reference. Today, I'm not here to present a success story. I am here to share lessons, practical lessons from the field, from headquarters, and from the spaces in between. Lessons about how careers really evolve in the UN system and how a UNV assignment can become the foundation of leadership. If there is one idea I want to keep in mind from the very beginning, it is this. Your UNV assignment is not a pause before your career. It is your career in motion. So with that, I would like, and without further ado, Michelle, let's commence. So warm welcome to all. And well, here it's me. I am Cesar Guedes. If you know the flags, no, I am from Peru and Canada. I have work experience in, of course, UN volunteers, where it all started, UNIDO, the UN Industrial Development Organization, UNDP, and last part of and the largest period of my career with UNODC. On that front, I have been a UNODC country representative in Latin America, Africa, and Asia, with Bolivia, Pakistan, Mozambique, and Afghanistan to mention. And I have field work experience in 8 countries across the world, and my headquarters experience pretty much in the Germanic world, where I speak German. So I went to Germany and then to Austria. So that's a little bit who I am. So my field experience expands from Peru, Panama, Vietnam, China, North Korea, Guyana, Mexico, Colombia, and all these parts of the world. Thank you. So, and the next slide, we will see, well, this is me when I started in 1993, and this is me today in 2026, both in Guyana. And here is a timeline of my responsibilities. I started in 92 as a privatization specialist, UNV, with a joint UNIDO UNDP project in Guyana. Then I was able to participate in a competition and joined and got accepted to join the UN Junior Professional Officer Program with UNIDO, serving in China and North Korea. Based in China, but covering both countries. After the end of my JPO, I had the chance to go back to my home country, Peru, where UNDP hired me as almost immediately as a national officer. I applied for the position. Thereafter, and because in Peru I was implementing programs with UN volunteers in areas of human rights and environment, I had the chance to connect again with BON, and they invited me to apply for a position. So I applied, got interviewed, and joined and went to BON for 5 years, between 2004 and 2005, including. After that, I did a lateral move from headquarters Bonn to headquarters Vienna, as UNODC asked me to join as a program manager in the Latin America section. Years later, the position of head of section became vacant, so I applied and became a section chief in Vienna, and that gave me the chance to move back to the field and became a rep in Bolivia. Followed the next assignment to Pakistan, where I spent almost 7 years, then in Mozambique, in Africa, where I spent 3 years, and thereafter in Afghanistan, a very difficult assignment because I was there during the year in which the country fell into the hands of the Taliban. So I was involved in all the evacuation and providing a duty of care to our national and international staff. Then I retired and, well, joined my wife as a spouse. She is a Canadian or a Canadian diplomat, and she was posted in Vietnam. So I left Afghanistan, went to Vietnam, and then I recreated myself. So here is also to mention, there is life after the UN. So I became an international consultant with the Canadians and with other international donors in Vietnam. In addition, I became as well a teacher in the UN International School and with the National University of Vietnam. After Vietnam, we moved back to Canada, and a few months into Canada, where I was also doing some consultancies and teaching at the local university, Born called me and through the regional office in Panama, and I was invited to give a hand in the relaunch of the Caribbean program based in Guyana, a country, as you see, that I know. So this is a little bit of a quick timeline of my journey. And I would like now to zoom into my 2 UNV assignments. I think this is very relevant for all of us, because then I can zoom in and tell you what I did. I mean, this was my very, very first job after completing my master's. I did my postgraduate studies in the Netherlands at the Institute of Social Studies. So after that, I had the chance, to be contacted with the UN and through UNV, and well, I had the chance to be selected for a position in Guyana. Actually, I was selected at that time for 2. One, to become a program officer, head of UNV in Equatorial Guinea. And at the same time, in parallel, I had the job offer for Guyana. So, and then I had to decide, and I thought, well, going all the way from Peru to the only Spanish speaking in Africa and work in Spanish, or I can continue polishing my English and go within the American continent and work in Guyana. So I opted for the latter. Both were very remote countries, and UNV was very active in both. So I worked and joined the privatization program. At the time, Guyana was coming out of a socialist type of regime, so everything was state-owned, and the country was going through very, very difficult economic challenges. So the UN, the World Bank were invited, so in full force, and that this was 1992. Remember, the Berlin Wall had fallen in 1989, so Guyana was more or less left on its own without the traditional friends that they have from the Eastern Bloc. And well, so I helped in the privatization. This was the core of my work. I had a portfolio of 10 public enterprises, and I helped the head of the government privatization unit and the chief technical advisor of UNIDO in managing and going through the sales process of these state-owned enterprises, starting with evaluation, marketing, engaging with investors, the transferring of assets, the liquidation if needed, and the post-sale follow-up, which was very, very important because the new owners had to commit in doing some type of credible and predictable business with those assets that they have purchased. And well, that was the core. But then these other 3 additional responsibilities were added to me, and I volunteered to do that. For example, I became a member of the task force dealing with international promotion of investments in Guyana. So this task force was joined by UNIDO, UNDP, the World Bank, and the Carter Center. So together we prepared a paper that the president and the prime minister presented in road shows across North America and Europe in donor meetings to attract more investments and support to Guyana. While being in UNDP also, there was a chance the person dealing with the CARICOM portfolio went on maternity leave. So I was given the possibility to take on board that portfolio, and I learned a lot about the Caribbean. So I was a liaison officer between joint programs between CARICOM and the UN Development Program. The CARICOM is the Caribbean Community. It's an organization that clusters 13 Eastern Caribbean member states and associated territories. And last but not least, during my 2 years in Guyana, it took place the first free and fair election. So as all the volunteers, we gave a hand to become electoral monitors. So next one. So this was my work as a field, as a UN volunteer in the field. So let's move to the next slide. And this is years later, and I see my dear friend Lars in the meeting, a dear colleague from my times at UNV in Bonn, Lars Bernd. So, well, how I came back to Bonn. How I came back to UNV, but this time as a staff member in headquarters. Well, I was working in UNDP Lima after my JPO. As I mentioned, I was dealing with programs in human rights and environment implemented with the support of UN volunteers. And then I interacted with headquarters, and then they shared with me an interesting vacancy. The head of programs came on a mission to Peru, and we had a conversation with him, and seems like he got a good impression. So it was Mr. Miguel Bermeo Estrella, a very senior official from UNDP serving in Bonn. So he told me, look, we have possibilities in headquarters. We're expanding, so why don't you apply? And well, I did, and then the program that I applied, I was look at here. Can you see my the mouse at the right side? I became an operation officer. Yeah, so this was to deal with all the administrative part of the UN volunteers assignment. So I was dealing with a recruitment, fielding, monitoring and accompanying the evolution of a UNV work in Latin, in a section at that time called ARLAC. At that time, talking about between the year 2000 2004, we had a cluster of Arab states, Latin America, and the Caribbean, ARLAC. So I was the operations officer helping the section chief to manage the contracts of and assignments of the volunteers. So that called not only special operations that I did there were the revision of the conditions of service. I had also a task force with the other 4 operations officers in the 3 other different regions, together with me 4, to compare notes and to back up each other. We launched also at that time a revised version of the national UNV scheme. Then through Latin America, we created and launched at the time what is the University of Youth Volunteer Scheme. I was also a member of the recruitment panel to recruit UNVs in all over the world, because sometimes I would be invited to be at the panel for Africa or for Asia or for the UN missions at that time called Special Operations. Very important. Here's where I learned a lot. I was together with the other operations officers in the house. Are very, very complicated matters to medical evacuations, disciplinary cases, deaths, and everything under the sun. So that's why we had to be available almost 24/7. and deal with very, very tremendous situations. Then also I was member of the task force for training and doing the induction for the UNV program officers. So, at that time we had the heads of UNVs in the field would come to Bonn once a year, and we would train them with whatever was new and all the do's and don'ts for them to do the best type of work in the field. And I was also a trained facilitator. So I came for this. But when I arrived in Bonn, the chief of section told me, Cesar, I see you have a strong program background. You applied for this position, and I wanted you because I had also applied for a position in Asia Pacific. And he told me, no, I want you here, no. And it's important, no, because we have this opportunity, and I will offer you another opportunity to be involved in parallel to deal with program matters, which are all the other things that you see around the slide. So I was allocated a number of countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, and I became a program specialist for Andean countries and Spanish Caribbean countries. So on that front, we designed, let's go here, volunteer program development. I designed program streams across UN development and humanitarian programs in areas such as human rights, community development, university volunteering, disaster preparedness, refugees, indigenous communities, children, women and development, small and medium-sized enterprises, HIV/AIDS, etc. So I contributed to those type of programs. Some important highlights, as I mentioned, was to launch the UN volunteers, university volunteers program in Bolivia, for which we had an international, the National Presidential Award, and for a program in Guatemala dealing with disaster preparedness, we had the UN Japan Sasakawa Award. Very important also to tell you is that UNV was instrumental in implementing the follow-up of the peace process in Guatemala. Once the UN mission departed, and the UN mission was there for 12 years, and after an evaluation, it was decided that the international staff of the mission would be replaced by national UNVs. So we engaged a number of around 100 plus national UNVs to help in the follow-up of implementation of the peace accords. So you can imagine how exciting. I go for one thing, and then with the trust of my supervisor and my desire also to do some extra work, I learned a lot, and that really sort of injected me a lot of energy, and I learned a lot, and I also, with others, it was a cross-fertilization opportunity. And if you remember, what year are we celebrating now in UNV is the International Year of Volunteer. This is version 25. Well, I was in version number 1. Here, we launched the International Year of Volunteers in 2001, at the very, very first effort. And this, and my boss told me, Cesar, I would like you to be the focal point, because each regional section would assign a person to work with a UN, with the IYV team, the International Volunteer Team, which was an ad hoc section created to accompany the year. But then we had, from the regional section, have a focal point to support the work of this task force. So I was one of those. So we worked together in the implementation of the year, and this I had to wear the full section hat for Arab states, the Caribbean, and Latin America. So we helped in the launch of volunteering laws, or laws to promote volunteering in Argentina, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru, and also manage partnerships with different constituencies. As you can see here, we launched an IYV coin in Canada. My wife happened to know the head of the Canadian Mint, so we put things together. We put the Canadian Mint in coordination with executive coordinator in Bonn, and voila, We had the Canadian collectible coin, which now is worth several $100s. Now, at that time, it was only $1. And then also some postage stamps in Mexico, Egypt, Bahrain, Aruba, who launched commemorative postage stamps at that time for collectors. So, but that was very meaningful. Here is the IYV. A special credit about that is that we addressed at the UN General Assembly with a special mention of the work that UNV was going to be the organization focal point, and all was acclaimed by all member states at a session in New York in September of the year 2000, because in 2001 everything was launched. And well, I mentioned you, it's very important, colleagues, language skills in the UN. I speak a few languages. One of those is German, which I studied in my home country in Peru. So that gave me the opportunity to join City of Bonn and UNV partnership. And this was headed by Sharon Capling, at the time the executive coordinator, and the Lord Mayor City of Bonn. Her name was Barbara Dickman. And well, I was invited, and there was a program twinning the cities of Bonn, Germany, and La Paz, Bolivia. So I would bring about the work that we were doing in Bolivia and interact and facilitate also some of the work that they were doing through our UNV office in La Paz. So that is a nutshell of the work in headquarters. As you can see, it's a different world. And you see as well, I mean, it's about the extra things that you take that make you work. Next slide, please. Well, some special moments of my career, in Mozambique, in Pakistan, joined programming with United Arab Emirates for programs in Pakistan and Afghanistan, interviewed by CNN or BBC or Al Jazeera. The national award from Bolivia, it was given to UNODC, so I was the caretaker of that important decoration. Next slide. This probably was one of the most memorable events. I was invited to address the Security Council during the Afghanistan crisis. So here I'm sitting in Kabul, and here are all the members of the Security Council. I'm here with my executive director of UNODC. So I was invited to speak and give a recount, because I was probably the only person in the field at that time with a couple of Afghan government officials in seclusion. And my area was important because it was drugs, crime, terrorism, and this was one of the points that were a no-go zone for the UN, and where the Taliban really amassed a lot of their money and their economic possibilities through the illicit economies. So I had that privilege to do so. So okay, next slide. Well, something that I always do when I work in the field are two things. One is always to recruit UNVs, and number two is to facilitate the Model UN. Probably many of you know the Model UN, in which schools and universities make a sort of mock General Assembly, and they divide the class in different delegations. Each delegation represents a country, and we assign them a task, a political, humanitarian, development task, and then they have to perform. So it's a 2-3 days event, and I've been invited and as a facilitator or as a speaker, or also to join in the organization in Models UN in La Paz, Bolivia, in Bonn, Germany, at the Bonn International School, in Islamabad, Pakistan, and most recently the Model UN in Atlanta, Georgia, United States, the Model UN in Vietnam, in the UN International School, UNIS, Hanoi, Vietnam, and a few months ago at the University of Quebec in Ottawa. And I'll be doing a similar one remotely in the next few weeks. Next one. And that's, that's about my return to Guyana, why volunteers matters, and then the strategy behind the launching of the UN Volunteers Program in Guyana. These are newspapers, top newspapers in Guyana, the Guyana Chronicle and the Stabroek News, with articles that were launched a few weeks ago about the work that we intend to do in Guyana. Now, Guyana has become one of the richest countries in the hemisphere. They have discovered oil and gas. They have a need of professional talent, and they don't have enough professionals around in different areas. So we are looking at the way in which UNV can help down the lane to bring highly specialized professionals to assist Guyana in areas beyond, because right now the economy is heavily concentrated in oil and gas. So now they would like us to help to bring doctors, nurses, teachers, economists, engineers, but at a top notch, because Guyana has changed. It's not the Guyana of 1992, 93 when I was there. At that time, Guyana was very poor, almost an LDC. So UNVs were practically running the country. We had UNVs from being the assistant of the prime minister to doctors, nurses, teachers, water management engineers, etc. So we had almost around at some point over 100 UNVs, one of the largest programs, and I was one of those. Now there's less UNVs. The country has become richer, but they would need top-notch UNV, so we are working to see how we can help Guyana on that transition. Okay, colleagues, this is what I wanted to share with you, and I would like to open the floor for the next stages. So I pass back the floor to Michelle in Bonn.
Thank you so much, Cesar. Very, very impressive. And I love to see also this full circle moment that you basically had in your career now, and really how you, I also loved when you said that something that you always try to do is always hire volunteers wherever you were. And I feel like you can really tell this spirit of volunteerism that you have within you, even though the first assignment has been a few days ago. But it just doesn't leave. So very, very inspiring. And thanks a lot for sharing all of this. Colleagues, now is your time to also ask your questions. As I said in the beginning, please feel free to either put them in the chat, or you can also just raise your hand and directly ask your question to Cesar. We still have quite some time for this Q&A, which is always like the most it's just a very engaging part of the whole session. So feel free to raise your hand, and then we can get started with the Q&A.
And Michelle, it was very important to keep volunteers on board, because even when I was in UNODC in headquarters and beyond, I was the organizational focal point in UNODC for deals with UNVs for many years. So I always tried to bring UNVs not only in my office, but across the board to the different UNODC operations.
Definitely, yes.
Okay.
Perfect. So, okay, we see the first hand up. Magnieta.
Yes.
I hope I pronounce your name correctly.
And I see also Anwar. Okay.
Fantastic. Then let's get started with your question.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Cesar, for sharing your very rich and interesting experience on your career. And I have one question to ask you.
Yes.
If there is one advice you can give to us, new UNV, what it should be?
Well, my first advice is to embrace the fact that you are a UNV and that you are an important UN personnel. On that front, please learn everything about your work and don't be afraid of adding more responsibilities because it's good that you do your job. That's what you've been hired for. But in the UN, there's also that little line at the end of your terms of reference, other duties as required. Probably that is the key to you.
Sorry, Cesar, I think we have a few.
Think outside of the box and to solidify. So that would be my advice. Don't be afraid, embrace your responsibility, and connect well with your job. And very important, team spirit. Learn from your peers, engage your colleagues. Sometimes you run into not very easy people. Don't get into trouble. Avoid any conflict. Do your work. Don't get into things that will bring you into a difficult situation. Sometimes there are office conflicts, and you happen to get there, and people would like you to be on this side or the other. Just keep yourself neutral. Do your work, and concentrate on also growing through the opportunity that you are given as a UN.
Amazing.
Okay, thank you, Cesar. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Great. And also one question that I see in the chat from Mudasara, please share some practical strategies to get selected for the on-site assignment. Of course, this is what is very much in need and they're very interested in. Do you have some practical tips for that?
Yes, my advice is to really polish very well your CV. Run it even with a peer expert, with somebody else that will see your CV outside of your own personal box and compare to the terms of reference. Do your part, but also if you have a friend, somebody who is a specialist on HR or just another professional peer, say, what do you think? Would my CV, what I have written in my CV would match this? Because a second opinion helps. Then make sure that you redraft your CV for each professional opportunity that you are applying. Don't use your CV as a cookie cutter. Yeah, it's very easy to apply by click, and send your CV all over the world to assignments that you are interested. Take the time to polish it so it has the best version of your CV for the position that you are applying. Yeah, because remember, the first level of filter now is being done by artificial intelligence, not a person. So make sure that what you put, keywords, how your CV matches what their job requirements are connected, because only then you pass the next filter. And by passing the next filter, it means that you've done a good job. And then be ready to substantiate all the requirements that they are asking you from the employer to connect with the content of your CV. Yeah, because not that every assignment are identical and that your CV would always be the one and only. Remember, you are in competition. So as a competition, you have to prepare, you have to train, you have to look good, you have to ensure not only that you look good, but that they see you as the candidate. So take the extra step, especially if you are interested in that job. Sometimes if you just think, maybe I have a chance, but my advice is really to distill it a little better. That opens the door. Yes.
Very good. Thanks a lot.
Aisha.
Yes. Aisha, please. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah, not very clear, but I think we can hear you.
Thank you so much for giving me the chance to speak. I'm Aisha Salim from Karachi, Pakistan. I'm doing BBA from Jeddah University for Women. So my question for you is, as you have so much experience, so what would be the exact strategies or actionable steps that you would recommend for building long-term career within UN system, especially for young professionals like me who are just starting out?
Well, Aisha, it is important to don't just don't sit on the bed of roses. Probably you have completed your education, you have your certifications, but something that is always very engaging and attractive is if you the continued learning. Try always to acquire new skills. It is important, especially at a young age, that you don't think that you finish your master's or university degree and that's the end of your learning life. That would be a wrong approach. Try and now there are tremendously generous learning opportunities on site and online. So learning has not been easier now than as it was in yesteryears. So take advantage, number one, to add more knowledge and documented certifications, no? So that you got an extra paper of something connected to areas that the UN is interested. Depending on what your career is, try to add these add-ons, no, to make your degree look stronger and better. And another piece of advice is languages. Try to concentrate in learning more UN languages, because if you know one language, it opens one door. If you know two languages, it is in a geometrical approach. It opens two more doors, and a third language opens six more doors. So that is key, yeah, because if you only have one, and of course the main language is English, it is our working language. But if you are UN languages like French, Arabic, Russian, Spanish, that's Chinese, no, but also concentrate on those where are widely spoken across the world, and those are Spanish, English, French, Arabic, that are quite widespread languages, and others that, for example, Portuguese is not an official UN language, but it's a language spoken in many parts of the developing world, countries where the UN is pretty much active, like Mozambique, like Angola, like well, Brazil is less of that, but Brazil is more a partnership country, Sao Tome, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau. So, you know, I went to Mozambique. That was probably one of my most interesting assignments, to open the new office there. There was a huge upsurge of drug-related offenses and terrorism and fundamentalism. No, and they told me, and there was a special request of the government of Mozambique to the Secretary General, who, by the way, is a Portuguese man. And then, well, I was the only Portuguese speaker in UNODC. No, and I have a certification in the language. So that opportunity came to me, and well, I opened from scratch an office, which now is one of the most successful country offices in the region. And that came out from scratch. So learn languages, add on skills, and network. Professional networks help a lot. So be known and get to know people and make people get to know you at the professional level. LinkedIn and different social media networks. Thank you.
Sure, I will. Thank you so much for your feedback. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Dear Aisha, my pleasure. Thanks to you. Thanks for your participation.
Thank you so much for the question and also for your answer, Cesar. I think especially like this lifelong learning is really something that we should all really focus on, and also as like I can also speak from our end, from the capacity development team, which is exactly what we also try to do with you, right? So that we offer you learning opportunities that are really relevant for you during your assignment, but also those learning opportunities that are relevant like longer, in the longer term, like everything that you can transfer to other assignments in the future as well. So this is really something that we can also underline to really focus on during your assignment. We know that also in your assignments, there is a lot that you have to do, and a lot that is expected from you. But yeah, it is really something that you should also prioritize and look into as good as possible. So thanks also for pointing that out, Cesar. Let me also check the chat again.
Well, I see one here from Lucien in Benin. Yes, very good point, Lucien. Yeah, the CV is very important, but you see what is the introduction, the key to open the first door is your cover letter. Write a nice cover letter, because a cover letter also accompanies the first steps of the application. If you write a nice, engaging cover letter where you are introducing yourself as the ideal candidate, matching the terms of reference vis-a-vis your experience and education, and connected, and I would say crafted. You have to craft. You don't need to write a letter. Everybody can write a letter. This one has to be a work of art. So put your heart and soul in a nice letter, matching things in a nice, engaging way. I have recruited many people, in my career, in my different positions. And I could tell you sometimes the cover letters are so bad that you just cannot go into the next step. And sometimes the cover letter belongs to another position that the applicant is applying, so it has no relation with, and then that's disrespectful. Yeah, so that I would not take that into consideration, because even if the CV is nice, with a cover letter referring to something else, sorry, you are not taking the time. If you do the cookie cutter approach, this is not going to help me if I recruit you, and it's not going to help you to perform your duties. So thank you, Lucien, because this is very relevant. I guess you are calling us from Cotonou. All the best. Thank you.
Perfect. Huge thanks. Okay. And we see the next question coming in from Kelvin. Hello, in your experience, what separates volunteers who remain contributors from those who grow into influential leaders within the UN ecosystem?
I would say, let me put it in my own experience. If I would have stayed in a comfort zone, I wouldn't be here, and I would be nowhere. You can enjoy the comfort zone for a microsecond, but then your drive has to be constantly on the move. If you're able to do more, that puts you in the eyes of many others. If you stay within your terms of reference, only 3 or 5 people are going to look at you. If you do the extra step, the extra miles, those 5 will change into 10 or 15 or 20. And whenever there is a vacancy, an opportunity for another assignment after your UNV, and that's what happened to me. When I concluded my UNV assignment, I had the opportunity to apply for the JPO program. And the agency where I was working, which was UNIDO, the UN Industrial Development Organization, had a very, very thorough and rich JPO program. And they invited me, Cesar, why don't you apply? And I had the best recommendation, introductory letters from my boss in Guyana, from the backstopping officer in Vienna, and that helped me. And of course, the recruitment process for that took almost a year. So half of the year that I was of the 2 years when I was a UNV, half was my ongoing process for the recruitment of JPU, and it's extremely competitive. No, and I thought, well, I had applied for many things, no, but this was the one I wanted. I focused on that one, and then voila, it came into fruition. So open your mind, enjoy the comfort zone, but that is not where you're meant to be. You are meant to be learning, expanding, and opening opportunities for yourself, entering into different dimensions. If you are in a comfort zone, you stay in a country, in a region, in a language, and then I look at your CV and you haven't left the country or the region or the office in the 7th floor, and you've stayed there forever. I've seen that when I was in headquarters. Some of my colleagues, my career has not evolved. Well, if you're going to stay in beautiful Vienna forever, enjoy, go to the theater, enjoy whatever, but you have to move on if you really want to evolve your career. Probably you're doing well in Vienna, but you could be doing much better if you move to the field. Yes, so here I see Lilian Sendales. Dear Cesar, if you had give one piece of advice, someone about to start international. Well, I think I answered this already at the beginning. So really engage, network, avoid comfort zones, and also be curious, explore other things. If you are in a new duty station, also my take to you is to get to know the culture, get to know the country. Don't be under the four walls of the office. And of course, having a UN volunteer assignment is very nice, very helpful for your career, but also get to learn, get to know, because probably this is going to be the only chance that you are going to live in that country. Explore, learn the ways, because you see, people see UNVs as the human side of the United Nations. And then you have to look connected to the environment you are around, your neighbors, your market, your banking, your grocery store. Go out, see, feel the country. Just of course, all within reason. No, don't go to zones that you are not supposed to go, but learn about the history, learn about the cuisine, learn about the politics, so that you because that is going to give you a better understanding of your assignment, because your assignment is part of a wider spectrum of human situations, the political, the geographical, the historical. The more you understand where you are, the better contribution that you are going to bring into the table. And that is not learned at the university. That is learned by yourself being curious and being outgoing and engaging. Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Is there another question that someone of you wants to ask in person? I see into the camera also.
Kelvin Sidhall, in your experience, what separates volunteers who remain contributors from those who grow into influential leaders within the UN ecosystem? Yes, I think it's a combination of opportunities, and it's a combination of opportunities that exist and how you go after those opportunities. Remember, but this is in the ideal world. Sometimes we are not in the ideal world, and you have to look and fight for that situation. In this sense, my advice here, in order to grow a bit more on that situation, is that you manage your supervisor, your boss. Try, and you see, you have to be bright, you have to be witty. Yeah, you have a great opportunity in your hand, Kelvin. So, but if you want to move to the next steps and move into the ranks, I mean, I am sharing my experience. Hope it helps. I have done what is included in your question. I moved from a UNV to becoming a country director. So it comes with a lot of effort. Some things are not easy. Sometimes the office environment is tough. Sometimes the government counterparts like to grill UN officials for breakfast, including UNVs. So you have to be ready to take all these type of challenges gracefully, but have a plan. Learn. I would like to become a UN leader, a UN staff, and somebody in headquarters or in the field. Embrace the challenge. Be understanding of your surroundings. Try to understand also the characters of the people working with you. Remember, as UNVs, we are not staff members. No? We are UN personnel. And then that also gives us the opportunity, because we can do more things, that sometimes as a staff you cannot do. We have a little bit more of freedom on that side. And of course, we are not pounded with very high managerial responsibilities. And sometimes we end up doing many things that others cannot do. And that brings you to the next level of engagement, of knowledge, of networking, and of acquiring transferable skills. The more that you learn on these additions to your terms of reference, the more you are positioning your CV in other dimensions. And this is the key. Have more transferable skills that are useful for other departments, for other UN agencies, for other sections within your agency, because then you are having the version 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 of yourself. When you started, you were Kelvin 1.0, and then with all these additions, you become Kelvin 2.0, 3.0, or 4.0. But it's up to you to really connect and connect well. But a blessing is really to have a good boss and a good team. Sometimes we are not in that. Sometimes that can hamper our plans. But you see, you have to be resilient. Don't dismay if something doesn't go well. Just pick up the pieces and go forward again. Yes, Michelle?
Fantastic. What fantastic closing words. Unfortunately, we are already at the end of this session, but I think this is really a great way to end it. This resilience is something that, is very important for all of us. We know that it's quite challenging times right now, and there's a lot of insecurity, and we're not maybe sure about how the future is going to look like, but I think there's so much inspiration also, and you bring already so much to the table, and I hope that today also helped you to really embrace that even further and to really see, okay, this is what is also needed, and this is how a career can also look like if you really focus that much on it and embrace this lifelong learning as well. So really huge thanks to all of you for being here, and for your questions and for your interest, and for being with us. And of course, huge thank you to you, Cesar, for sharing and for being so open and letting us be part of your very impressive career journey. It was amazing to have you with us, and I really wish you all the best. Looking forward to seeing you in some of the future sessions again, as we're talking about lifelong learning. So looking forward to that, and really huge thanks again, and have a great day, everyone.
Okay, dear colleagues, my pleasure. All the best to you, and keep the ball running. And remember, volunteers is not the beginning, is really the straightforward answer to a great UN career, and you are on it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Good day. Thank you.